It's beginning to look a lot like showtime.
And welcome back, all you boils and ghouls and corpses crew, to another exciting episode of Habeas Corpses. Yeah, bam. We are basically on Black Friday, the shopping extravaganza, where all Americans go nuts with their spending, think they're saving a bunch of money, but they really aren't. And
because you're actually spending more money because you're like, oh, that's a good deal. Can't pass that one up.
yes, and you trample each other in the stores and fight, scream, kick. But I didn't see any craziness on the news or anything. Not that I've really looked very much, but usually there's a huge breaking news. 5 trampled at Target in Cincinnati. 7 killed in Florida.
It's not even news anymore, so they don't
even
report
care.
it. They're like, I guess another person died on Black Friday.
This is like the first Black Friday where we're not back to normal, but we're back to not caring. We're like, let's just fucking fuck COVID. We're just going to do it.
Christmas, Christmas, Christmas.
Yeah, we, instead of going and doing the Black Friday shopping,
which, side note, we literally never do.
Yeah, I was going to say we don't participate in that. We went out and blasted away in the middle of nowhere in the desert in Utah. Shot some rounds away and took out our stress and decompressed from the Thanksgiving holiday. Not that it was any stressfulness for us because we literally had me, you, and my sister over, which, hey, what the hell?
And the dogs. Don't leave the dogs out. It was Charlie's first birthday. You're trying not to roll your eyes as hard as you fucking possibly can. You were like, just look at the mic.
Yes, it was Charlie's first birthday, and we did celebrate that as well. Now, that being said, we are through the Thanksgiving holidays. I hope all of you had a fun, delightful Thanksgiving holiday and didn't get too fat. I wonder how much food the average American consumes on the Thanksgiving holiday.
I don't know, but
Probably
I consumed...
like 8 pounds, 10 pounds?
Probably.
Food, somewhere in that range.
Yeah. I consumed less than normal.
I seen a pretty great meme. It was a log in the middle of a toilet. It was like the after Thanksgiving poop. It's like, yes, I can see a lot of people suffering from that. I didn't go all ham and eat.
Because we weren't drunk.
Eat or anything. No, we did not drink.
If I was drunk, I would have been like, third plate, please. I purposely only made enough mashed potatoes for us.
Yeah, and then my dad bailed, so we even made less food. But my sister came over. We had a good time.
But I do still have stuff to make stuffing, which is why we're going to have pork chops and stuffing tomorrow.
Hey, why not?
Because I don't want that to go to waste. I mean, I spent money on it.
Yeah,
I'm going to eat it.
You don't just want to throw it away.
Yeah, so we're going to be having stuffing, pork chops, and corn tomorrow. And your favorite, country gravy stuffing.
Yay, cool.
I mean, country gravy.
I was going to say, I've never heard of country gravy stuffing.
I don't know why I said stuffing.
Hey, what the hell?
Because I love stuffing. It's one of my favorite things. But then when it was just going to be the 3 of us, I was like, well, I'm not going to make a giant casserole of stuffing. I'll make it for 2 of us instead.
And turkey and brains, everyone. Turkey is for one film we watched last night, and brains is for one film we finished throughout the week.
It was a long-ass movie. We watched it in like 20 or 30-minute increments.
It's almost 3 hours, I believe.
Yeah. I'm not capable of watching that long of a movie during the work week, so...
No, especially when you... Well...
We only get 3 hours
Monday
at home.
and Tuesday. So did we start that on like last week?
Yeah.
So we went over the weekend, didn't watch it. So turkey, we watched ThanksKilling. We'll get to that one in a minute. We'll end the episode with ThanksKilling. And brains, no, we did not watch One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But we did watch another movie that has a lobotomy in it, and it is Shutter Island, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and directed by, is that a Martin Scorsese film?
Yeah.
It is. Scorsese, however you say his last name.
Scorsese.
I don't know.
Scorsese.
You say it some way.
Scorsese.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get into the movie, can I talk about what a lobotomy is? Because I learned some stuff.
Let's talk about the movie first, then get to lobotomy, because lobotomy comes at the end of the movie.
Oh, well, I was going to do it first, then we talk about the movie, because then I've got a shitload of information about a really famous lobotomy. So I was going to break it up a little bit so you weren't so bored.
Well, you're the director. You do whatever you want.
You know what? Never mind. I don't want to do it now because
Go for it, Lacey. Let's jump into what a lobotomy is, because our main character, I don't want to call him a protagonist, but I don't want to call him a
he is
hero.
both the protagonist and the
He's
antagonist.
kind of
really.
everything in this film. Comes to the demise at the end with the lobotomy. So, take it away with lobotomy, miss.
Wow, I'm really
Since you
excited.
ruined my... Let's go.
Okay, so a lobotomy.
A lobotomized.
A
No, I'm
lobotomy.
going to make fun of Marcus for not being able to say Martin Scorsese's last name, but yeah, that thing. If you don't know what a lobotomy is, it's the famous thing that gets Jack Nicholson in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest at the very end.
Pretty much. And it was a form of psychosurgery. And basically what they would do is they would sever connections in the brain's prefrontal cortex, which I don't even really think is important because I think they just kind of were like fucking around and just severing whatever they could while they were in there.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the connections to and from the prefrontal cortex, as well as the anterior part of the frontal lobes of the brain.
So they just basically take a drill and go...
Yeah. And yeah, pretty much. And they were meant to reduce tension or agitation. And sometimes it did. Because, yeah, when you poke a fucking hole in someone's brain, they might just sit there and drool. So that would work. So a lot of people showed other effects, though, like apathy, passivity.
What is
or
passivity?
Passiveness. So basically what I'm saying, like just sitting there drunk. Poor ability to concentrate, and according to Wikipedia, generally decreased depth of intensity of their emotional response to life, which is like one of the darkest fucking sentences I've ever read.
Will you say that again?
Just slower.
Yes.
Generally,
And with more emphasis on being dramatic
Yeah.
during the...
generally decreased depth and intensity of their emotional response to life. Is that better?
Yeah.
So when patients woke up from the surgery, they were also often confused and frequently incontinent.
Well, that makes sense.
Yep. And then some developed an enormous appetite and then would gain like a shitload of weight. And then seizures were another common complication of surgery. Only about 1/3 of lobotomies were considered successful, and at least 490 people died during or right after the procedure itself.
490?
Mm-hmm.
So how long were lobotomies?
It started in the 1930s, and this is in America, and they went until the 1980s in America. So over a 50-year span. And 490 is what we know of.
So that the first known lobotomy was in the early 1930s?
Uh-huh.
So who devised the procedure? Who came up with this? Do you know?
I didn't write his name down because I was going to talk about who invented the ice pick lobotomy, which is worse.
What is that? That sounds like just shoving an ice pick in.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I was going to say ice pick lobotomy, I was just going to hit you right
They
in the head
would
with
drive
an
the
ice
pick through the thin part of the bone.
No, they really take an ice pick?
It's literally an ice pick.
No.
Yes. I'm not fucking with you. I'm not shitting you.
Okay.
Through the thin bone of the eye socket, and then they would manipulate it to damage the prefrontal lobes. Get this. The Soviet Union banned the surgery in 1950, arguing that it was contrary to the principles of humanity.
The Soviet Union.
And we continued fucking doing it till the 1980s.
The Soviet Union is still doing it. Trust me. I can
Well-
see Vladimir Putin over there like, give him the ice pick
Well,
lobotomy.
Probably to like people they hate, but not to like
No,
not to like they're just like
general
mental
prisoners.
illness patients.
There you go.
But yeah, so the person who invented it, his name was Walter Freeman. It was radical and new. Is the first ever ice pick, transorbital ice pick lobotomy is what it was called. Really fancy name. Was in Washington D.C. on January 17th, 1946. And we are going to come back to Walter fucking Freeman after we talk about the movie.
Wasn't he in the movie?
I don't know.
I swear one of the characters' names is Walter.
I'm not good with character names. I'll give it a goog. Is Walter Freeman in Shutter Island?
No, probably not. I swear someone's name is Walter in this film, though.
Here, I'm going to look at it this way.
Just look up the characters' names. So why would you get a lobotomy? Is it just because you were not...
if you were considered to have a mental illness, if you were...
That they couldn't treat with medication and...
Sometimes even
things of that nature?
sometimes they were just like, this will just do it.
It was the one cure fits all. People were getting
Pretty
lobotomies.
much.
They were lining up left and right on the...
Well, they did it to a lot of mental health patients, you know.
Yeah, but it wasn't just like a general procedure out there in the public, like, hey, you get a lobotomy.
Well,
calm
the
your anxiety
person,
down
no.
now."
It wasn't advertised like that at all. No.
It's like on a big billboard.
But like the thing that I'm going to talk about after we talk about the movie, they're like that was the person that decided to have the lobotomy performed on his child was like, you know, let's just go ahead and do it. I know there's maybe some other shit we could try, but this is a quick fix. Let's do that.
I'm just skipping the procedures.
Yeah. Let's just do this. Oh, fuck, it went wrong. Ooh, lock her up.
So Shutter Island is...
And by the way, I do not see a Walter, but there's a Dr. John Cawley, which is our main doctor.
One of them. Shutter Island follows Leonardo DiCaprio's character as... Teddy Daniels. As he's investigating the disappearance of a mental patient at a mental facility, and he is a U.S. Marshal. I'm a U.S. Marshal. I can't do the accent very well, but
I'm a U.S. Marshal.
What?
From the Marshal, a federal marshal.
Yeah, there you go. I'm here to investigate.
I need some cigarettes and booze.
He's with his partner
to perform these interrogations. Where is Rachel Solando?
Yep.
Who's patient 67? There you go.
Okay, you just told the whole movie. But basically, we follow him and his partner,
Chuck,
as they investigate the disappearance of this one patient. And as they're investigating her disappearance, you as an audience go down the rabbit hole with him on conspiracy about the island itself, from Nazi experiments that the Americans have hired them, because he is a former World War II soldier, and you get a lot of flashbacks to his life before the current time that we're in. So you see him as a soldier and with his family, and we know that he has a wife that died horribly in an apartment fire. I keep wanting to talk.
That was good. That one was really good. That was I don't know if the camera thought I was like, what?
But
apartment fire. Good babe.
I'm
gonna make shirts to say apartment fire.
And so we know that he's troubled because of that. He's lost his wife. And we keep getting flashbacks and then back to present day. And we're going through this investigation, and we slowly start to see his sanity chip away. And as it chips away, as the movie progresses, he comes into contact with different characters who later in the movie we figure out aren't even real, because he himself, big plot twist, is crazy and
delusional. That's probably a more socially acceptable word.
Hey, this movie's set in the 50s, so we can use the term crazy. But we figure out that the whole time he's been investigating this, they've been doing an elaborate role play. His partner's actually a psychologist. The main doctor is trying to save him from the ultimate lobotomy, and that's the big plot twist. And then there's another plot twist at the very end that is like, has he actually regressed? Because they talk about how he regresses so much, or does he just finally want to die? And I don't know if
even if it doesn't kill you,
but it's gonna take you and go bye-bye.
But are you trapped in there? That's another question. We don't know.
I don't know.
That could be worse.
Never want to experience a lobotomy. It takes...
You don't want me to shove an ice pick in your face?
Not at all. And on that note, Remember last episode where she was talking about killing me? She literally threw a monkey at my balls today.
I was not aiming for your balls. I was not aiming for your balls.
A little stuffed monkey, because we were brew monkey, and totally threw it at my balls.
Because you said we weren't happy anymore.
She's coming at me.
You said we weren't a happy couple anymore, and I was like, you fuck face. And so I threw the monkey at you, but it wasn't supposed to hit your balls.
I was being totally comical, and she's going a little too serious. But
I know you were being comical. I was also trying to be comical, and then it didn't turn comical. It turned like, oh, now I'm in trouble for the rest of the night.
throughout the movie, there's very, I would say, dark, semi-quasi-graphic imagery. We figure out the reason he's actually in there is he killed his wife because his wife was crazy and drowned their 3 kids. There's clues that you pick up on as the film progresses. This is the second time I've seen it, so the clues stood out for me. Maybe not so much for you, but I think you figured it out before the end of the film, anyways. Because he's clearly crazy during the film, suffering. But when you actually figure out he's a patient and it's been an elaborate role play, that's where it gets kind of like, oh wow, gotcha. But it does have an all-star cast, really good acting. And it begs the question of what would you do in those circumstances? Because I kind of found myself being like, if I came home from my investigation doing my job and found my wife had just murdered our 3 children, what would I do? Probably the same damn thing he did, which is kill the bitch.
Well, and if I came home and you had killed the dogs, I'd do the same thing.
I would be gone. I'm not stupid.
Like, this bitch gonna fucking kill me.
Yeah,
I'd be fucking dead.
I'd be out of here.
Yeah, I would definitely shoot you if you killed our make-believe children.
Yes.
Theoretical children.
Make-believe? Oh, okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely, but I wouldn't just shoot you. I might probably, like, cut your dick off first and slit your throat.
Okay, great. Lorraine Bobbitt, like
Lorena. Her name was Lorena. Whatever. And he lived. He got a penis enlargement. He made a bunch of porn.
Yeah, exactly. So
he made a porn about being Frankenstein.
Did he?
Yeah, they were like doing his penis enlargement. That was part of the porn. I listened to a documentary podcast thing about it.
Well, that's for another episode later down the road.
You know what? He was a bad dude, and I think he kind of had it coming.
Well, okay. I mean, I don't know enough about that case to know anything. All I know is she cut it off, and there we go.
He had it coming.
He had it coming to him. Okay. But there's a lot of cool imagery in the film, a lot of cool aspects.
Yeah, it's definitely creative.
But
the way they shoot certain things and try to lay hints on you. But
it's also a film of the earlier. When was it released? Because I've noticed that I get.
Hold on.
To do a film of that length in one sitting tends to be like in the past I could
2010.
do it, and I can't do it as well anymore. Like a long length movie, like how long is it?
2 hours and 18 minutes.
Oh, so it's not that long. I thought it was like 3 hours. I guess I just enlarged it out. I don't know. Enlarged it out. Lengthened in my mind. I
enlarged it out.
You got big dick on my mind now.
Marcus has enlarged it out in his pants and in his head.
But it's an enjoyable film.
Yeah, it is good.
It definitely beats the other film we watched this week.
Way better than the other movie, yep.
So what were you going to mention?
I've got so you asked me to Google some information about lobotomies. I have
And you already told us. What other information you have for the...
I have a mini story to tell you.
Okay, let's hear this mini story.
So I knew about this sort of, and so I couldn't remember who it happened to when you told me to Google some stuff. I looked it up. So one of the most famous lobotomies that was ever performed was on Rosemary Kennedy.
Who the hell is that?
She's a Kennedy sister.
Oh. Why was the lobotomy performed on Mrs. Kennedy?
It's not a Mrs. Kennedy.
Miss Kennedy.
She never got married. Happened when she was 23. I'm going to tell you what kind of led up to it, basically. Okay. So she was born on September 13th, 1918, and her mom was Rose Kennedy. And her husband was Joseph Kennedy Sr. or Joe Kennedy or Joe Sr. I wrote his name as those three things. And she went into labor with their third child. And at this time in Boston, which is funny, we can keep using our accent.
In Boston.
They were in their apartment. She had
The apartment fire.
Yeah. They were living in Boston, and the pneumonia was really bad. It was like the flu and pneumonia was raging through Boston. And her obstetrician was called to their home because she was giving birth at the house. But he came late, and he didn't get there until way after the baby had entered the birth canal. And the nurse, who was trying to stop the delivery until the doctor arrived, tried at first to just hold Rose's legs closed because that stops birth. Just keep them closed. Just keep them. Yep, just keep
Your
them.
legs are, what was
Your legs are harder to shut than the John Benet Ramsey case. That is a funny line. I will give that.
It gets overused in that.
Yeah,
next
they should have
movie
just
we're gonna
used
talk
it
about.
once. One and done would have been enough. So obviously that didn't fucking work because if it would work, she wouldn't have been pregnant in the first place.
Yeah.
And so she reached into Rose's birth canal and just held the baby's head in place for 2 hours.
Jeez.
And like even back in the day, the doctors knew that preventing the movement of the baby through the birth canal is going to cause like a lack of oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would expose the baby because of lack of oxygen to brain damage and
So
physical
why
disability.
is she holding the baby back?
Because she didn't know what to do when the baby came and the doctor wasn't there. So she's like, we'll just keep the baby in.
This is like the midwife. doing
Yeah.
this.
She's like, this is assault.
okay.
Well, the nurse.
The nurse. So
They didn't have
what?
the same training that nurses do
Yeah,
today. They were just
clearly.
like pretty
There's
girls
an-
in white outfits that
Okay.
handed the doctors like tools.
That makes more sense.
So she was like, "Oh fuck, I'll just keep it right here. This is fine."
Just hold it in.
It would have been better if they just would have pulled the baby out
Yeah.
and like suffered those. I don't know. So anyway, in the 1920s. Oh, excuse me. I gotta hop back a little bit. So, she was named Rosemary Kennedy. Her mom. She was named after her mom, but they nicknamed her Rosemary. It was easier to say than Rosemary. So that's why we're going to call her Rosemary. And she was known to have fits, and she often ran away. Definitely signs of...
So this is the kid now.
Yeah, their
Kid's been
child.
born,
Yep.
and she's having fits, and
Running away and
then so she's the one that the lobotomy is going to be performed on.
Yeah. So
And-
we'll get
okay.
we'll get to it. So in the 1920s, when she was growing up, the stigma associated with mental disability would ruin a family, especially a really prominent family like the Kennedys.
I would say it's gotten better,
But it's still not great.
but yeah, definitely.
So they did their best to hide the fact that Rosemary was different, and she changed schools often. She was not allowed to go outside of the house alone. Like she couldn't even play in the yard by herself. They didn't want to send Rosemary to an institution like Shutter Island because that was too extreme for Rose and Joe Sr. to contemplate. Because
Or too expensive.
yeah.
Whenever you have someone committed, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. So at age 11, they sent her to a boarding school, and over the next 9 years, she would attend 5 different schools. She didn't outwardly appear any different than her siblings. Like, if you look up photos of Rosemary Kennedy before the lobotomy, she's gorgeous. She looks just like a Kennedy sister. Just, you wouldn't be able to tell she had anything wrong with her.
So is she John F. Kennedy's sister?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. So she was always dressed lavishly, and so they would bring her out for short periods around their peers. Like they would allow her out to come do things, and she would be dressed up like her sisters, and then it would kind of be like, okay, move along.
We've had enough of you. Go back in your room.
And Joe Sr. was busy plotting the political career of his 2 older sons. One was going to become the 35th president of the United States of America. And so he was wanting to avoid scandal. And he was looking to find a cure for his daughter's, what they called erratic behavior. When I look at photos of her and I hear like what they're describing, I'm like, this ain't fucking shit in comparison to some of the kids I work with personally. Like, erratic. She had fits, and possibly, like, they recall later, they're like, yeah, some of it actually just might have been seizures that were completely untreated. The fuck? So anyway, he got a hold of Dr. Walter Freeman, the ice pick lobotomy man that we talked about at the beginning of the episode.
Ring him up.
Yep.
Hey, buddy.
Yep, he gave him a goog. Just kidding. Gave them a ring because they didn't goog
How do
back
you
in the
figure that
1920s.
shit out back then? And then
Connections.
This is
Because
what
this was
year?
they were in Washington D.C. and
he's just like at a like a social.
I heard you do
gathering.
ice pick lobotomies. My daughter is something else. So can we just? And so they called Dr. Walter Freeman and his associate Dr. James Watts, and they were the leading practitioners of lobotomies in America, which is a horrifying thing to think that there was leading practitioners in. And at the time, the procedure was looked at as a cure for the physically disabled and mentally ill, even though there was really no great substantial evidence to back that claim up.
It's hoodoo.
Yeah, exactly. So at the age of 23, Rosemary was admitted to George Washington University Hospital, where she was strapped to a table and given anesthetic to numb the areas of her brain, where Freeman and Watts would drill 2 small holes. They then inserted the small metal spatula and sliced the connections between her prefrontal cortex.
What was that?
The light went out.
Which light?
That light.
Oh.
The ghost did it. He's like, I'm sick of this story.
Get back to the movie,
They
please.
did not do the ice pick for her, but he did often hammer the ice pick in, as we recall earlier. And she was wide awake the whole time.
Yeah.
And
I think you have to be wide awake for all brain surgeries.
What they would do is the doctors would recite poems as they cut. And when she went silent, they were like, okay, it's done. She stopped responding.
Ugh.
That's
and then terrifying, man.
You want to hear something really sad?
What?
It was 20 years before she... The ghost
I think
is
she's
like,
reaching out to you.
The ghost is like, I do want to hear something really sad. It was 20 years before she saw any of her family again, because the effects were immediately apparent. She could no longer walk or talk. So she went from being like, you could talk to her, but if you talked to her long enough, you'd be like, this girl's slow, to not even being able to walk or talk at all.
And they're like, we botched this one. Let's just
hide her away.
Next. Bring the next one, please.
Yeah. So it took months of therapy before she regained the ability to move on her own. And she really only got use of one arm back, and it was partial use. And then her legs were permanently turned inward.
I just think about any time you mess around in the brain, extremely...
You do not unplug
serious.
And plug it back in again for your brain.
Yeah, it's extremely serious. And you think about nowadays standards, and still things happen. But back then, when they're just like,
that
think we
seems
got
good.
it.
That'll do. Yeah.
Yikes.
It was really sad. She did regain a little bit of her ability to speak, but it was mostly garbled sounds and words. And the result was shocking to Joe Sr. So his plan, instead of bringing her home for any of her family to see, he sent her to a care center.
Bye-bye.
And then at the end of the 1940s, she moved to another care center where she lived in until her death in 2005. And it was 20 years after the procedure that any of the Kennedys were able to see her again. And finally they reconnected with her, and that was why the whole Kennedy family got really involved in like special needs, basically. So Rosemary's sister, Eunice Kennedy Shriver, she's actually the one who founded the Special Olympics in 1968. And she became like a leading advocate for disability rights in the 1970s. Rosemary's nephew, Anthony Shriver, was an activist for people with developmental disabilities, and he founded the nonprofit Best Buddies International. Haven't heard of it, but good for him. JFK. We know who JFK is.
Who's that? For all you
which JFK?
Younger listeners, that's John F. Kennedy.
He was Rosemary's older brother. Just if anybody's wondering which brother she was. He was her older brother. He signed this is a long name and it's a terrible name, signed the Maternal and Child Health and Mental Retardation Planning Amendment to the Social Security Act in 1963. But it was the first major legislation to have to do with anything with mental illness, and it did lead to the creation of the Americans with Disability Act that Rosemary's little brother, Ted, fought for, which was eventually made into law in 1990. And
Wow.
Ted Kennedy also sat on the board of American Association of People with Disabilities. So the family was like, oh, fuck, we don't want any more lobotomies. We're going to work really hard to not have any, which is good.
Oh, fuck. Let's cover our tracks.
Let's act real like we really like people with special needs now. We really fucked this one up. Yeah, part of me is like, that's great that you guys did that, but could you have maybe fought for her before we fucking fucked with her brain, where we're just shoving spatulas in there and making her drool and never walk again?
It's not a spatula. It's an ice pick.
Well, hers was a spatula.
It's not spatula lobotomies.
No, this one they did. Did you not hear me? They used, on hers, it was a little bit different. They did the old school method. They did not do the ice pick method.
I need to watch one of these being done.
Okay.
There's got to be an old YouTube video.
Probably. Or just go watch that Nurse Hatchet thing on YouTube or on Netflix.
Oh, that's referring to
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, One Flew Over the
So anyway,
Cuckoo's Nest.
I hope that was not as boring as when I usually read to you. I tried to spice it up. Marcus was complaining. And I was trying to get through it as quick as possible so he didn't hate every second of it. But I did think that was really, 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 really interesting.
Yes, and another interesting fact that we're even on the Kennedys is it would have been, I don't know what the year, I think it was 11/23 of 63 when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Goog check me. 1163 or 11/23 of 63. Is that what it is?
Assassinated?
Yeah, when was John F. K. assassinated?
November 22nd of 1963.
I was off by one day.
Well, you were close.
That is that's a crazy one we could get into in the future. All the conspiracies with JFK.
So much surrounding that.
There's a ton of it.
And you know what? When it comes to governmental conspiracies, I don't believe whatever the government tells you. There was more going on.
There's always more.
To anything with the government. Because the more I learn about the government, I'm like, those are some shady motherfuckers.
I don't trust them.
But please don't listen to me tell you that, because I don't want you to perform a lobotomy on me.
Next episode, Lacey is going to be just blank staring.
I'm one of those robots in Halloween 3.
Oh, God. No, please.
It's me gouging out some eyes before I light myself on fire.
The second film that we need to go over real quickly, because there's not a lot to talk about with this one.
Is there not a lot to... I think there's plenty.
ThanksKilling.
I thought Marcus had fucking seen this movie before he showed it. From now on, screen this kind of garbage.
ThanksKilling was shot on a budget of $3,500, so it's very, very low budget. But I expected
I'm not even
more
judging that
from the writer and director, because
what did they spend $3,500 on? The fucking turkey?
The beer for the crew, and maybe the camera, and maybe some of those special effects scenes, because there's like drawings in the film.
God, it was the worst.
It's terrible.
It might have been the worst movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's up there for me. Basically, the plot of this movie is you follow a vengeful Native American spirit that is taken over a turkey.
Wait. Can we talk about the giant tits in the first second of the scene?
Yeah, it's not even before the opening credits.
It's
it opens up with pilgrim tits right in your face. And it's like straight up a MILF. It's like one of the actors' moms, I swear to God.
Or their auntie.
It's something. Hey, Aunt Thirsa
Aunt Lorraine,
or whatever.
Please don't use my own aunt's name. Please don't fucking use my aunt's name.
We need your tits in
Aunt
this
Lorraine. Let's use Lorraine. Not my Aunt Thirsa.
But yeah, tits opening. And that's when I was like, this is going to be a good movie.
I know. I was like,
and then it just went downhill from
You know
there.
what? We should have known. That's how fucking Microwave Massacre opened.
If the movie opens with tits, it's bad.
Just turn it off.
That's how they pull you in.
If the tits enter the chat after a few minutes, it's okay. If it starts off with tits, turn it off.
And this writer and director,
you gotta really figure out your tit flow.
The writer and director worked under. I think it said he did an internship under Wes Craven, I think.
Well, he didn't do a good enough
I know
one.
he wasn't paying.
What did he just buy him coffee? Fuck.
There's enough coffee in this film. Actually, there's only one coffee scene, but
it's like, what coffee?
In the turkey, it's a Native American spirit that's in the turkey, right? Isn't that what it was? Yeah.
And he's the best actor in the film, is the turkey.
The voiceover for the turkey is the best acting because I think he tried to be serious and
Gobble,
everyone else
gobble,
tried to be
motherfucker.
terrible.
Yeah.
And you just follow 5 teenagers.
Well, they're 5 grown-ass adults playing teenagers.
On
Which, like,
Thanksgiving
I know
break.
that happens a lot in movies.
No, but these are clearly late 20s people.
It was bad. Please stop.
Yeah, please. I'm like getting make-out noises in my headphones. Please, Charlie, I don't need it. And this turkey, I swear, it's basically
He wanted
someone's
to talk
hand
about his opinion of
in a
ThanksKilling.
sock that they just like glued eyes to or something.
I thought the turkey was fine for a low-budget film.
Oh,
I liked when he shoots the guy's head off.
for $3,500, that's where your $3,500 went.
Was the turkey?
Yeah. Can we talk about the ass scene? Where the
That was
turkey
pretty
literally
disturbing.
is
Where
looking
he's
for a
raping
ride?
her. Oh,
No.
and
there's
he's
that scene, but the scene where the turkey is literally
where
like,
the guy's like,
needs
"Do
to
you
get
want
to
ass or
town.
do you want grass?" And he's like, "I guess I'll take ass."
yeah,
And
he
this
like,
guy's like, "Ooh, what a tight little hole," or something. And I was like,
and then he like the turkey shoots him, but I'm like, what in the fuck? What am I watching right now? And then there's literally like
a turkey rape
turkey
scene.
rape scene.
Like the turkey rapes a person
Ugh.
before he kills her,
Yeah.
snaps her neck. I mean, granted, I hated her, but I didn't want to see her get raped by a fucking turkey wearing a gravy-flavored condom.
Yeah.
Why are we wearing a gravy-flavored condom if you're just going to break her neck? There's so many plot holes.
There is no plot to
The
this.
guy comes out and he's like, "I found this," and it's a fucking feather covered in
Well,
goo. And I
it's-
was like, "Did you pull the feather out of her pussy?"
Dude, the whole movie is just basically people who think they're funny and cannot write comedy at all.
Which tells me, because I
And there
think
was
we
a
could
s-
make a really good movie.
There was a
after watching it.
sequel to this movie,
Stop it.
and it's not even ThanksKilling 2. It's called ThanksKilling 3.
Which you know they did because they thought that was funny.
Yeah, I guarantee you that's
Guess
that's
what?
like,
You know it'd be
jokes
funny.
on them.
Charlie, did you hate this movie?
And I thought this was going to be one of those fun low budget films, but no, it's not
was
fun.
terrible.
It's streaming on Tubi, and I recommend you stay as far away from it as
I
you
actually
can
recommend we all delete Tubi for having.
for
added
having
this.
it on there.
I do want to watch Ginger Dead Man versus Evil Bong for Christmas. So. Charlie, give me a kiss if you hated this movie.
He's like, it was the worst.
Did you hear his little kissy sound?
Yeah, I heard it. Now put him down.
He wants up, and it's keeping him calm.
But it gave me great, not even like it gave me, not optimism.
He sees his reflection.
I feel like we need to make a movie. Like we're not
Yeah.
putting our talents to use.
Because we could make a really good movie for like less than $3,500.
Well, we have more than $3,500 invested in equipment, but yeah, so that's probably where their budget went.
Look
They were
at him
probably like,
staring
let's
at
buy
himself.
some equipment.
I could definitely do some great special effects makeup, and I could make pretty decent costumes.
There's literally a scene in this movie where the sheriff and his wife are arguing, or not even arguing. He's like, "Give me some coffee, babe," and then she's like, fucking pours him the coffee, like takes it, and he like spits it out. He's like, "Oh, this tastes like shit," and she's like, "Does it? 'Cause it is." And like it shows the coffee pot. She's like, "I shit in it. I want a divorce," and just leaves the screen.
That's a good way to ask for a divorce. It's a good way,
so
for
bad.
sure.
This movie was so
I
bad.
did like the Leatherface scene where he cuts the face off of the dad/sheriff and wears it, but then the family, their kids are so dumb. They're like, "Hey, daddy," while the fucking turkey's walking around in his mask.
Yeah.
Which I was like, this is the only funny part of this movie.
No, none of this movie was funny. I mean, I'm laughing about it now.
I'm
just
giving
thinking
it,
about how
it's funny to
ridiculous.
talk about it. It's really funny to talk about it.
It's
I did
not funny
not.
to watch.
I'm glad that I missed part of it getting a cyst cleaned out of Bear's ear. That was more, cleaning blood out of Bear's fucking cyst
Was
that
less
popped
torture than this
was more
film.
relaxing than watching this movie. The cyst literally had pus coming out of it, and it was more enjoyable than this fucking movie.
Yeah, and I was sitting here like I was sending videos of the movie to Jessica and being like, And her responses were like, what the fuck are you guys watching? And then I talked to Alex this
I
morning.
don't know.
Or throughout the day about it. And he's like, oh, you don't even know. Watch the sequel. And the sequel's got a pretty big budget because they did a Kickstarter for it. And oh my God.
Oh my God.
Like, looks
Everybody.
so bad.
If people start contributing to our Patreon, we could make a fucking killer movie. Everybody go become a patron so we can make a better movie than ThanksKilling.
We could. Look up the Nightingale for me real quick.
Okay.
I think that's what the movie is.
Is it with a K? Knighting?
No. And I think it's just Nightingale. It's a 2018 Australian film. It's on Netflix. I think it's called The Nightingale.
The Nightingale. Yep.
2018.
Mm-hmm.
That's another movie I'm going to recommend everyone go watch, but it's very dark and graphic. Imagine watching I Spit on Your Grave, but take it back to the
1825.
1800s. Yeah, when they were sending...
On the eve of the Black War.
Yeah, they were sending convicts from Europe down to Australia. And it follows the story of a...
Which they really fucking did. Everybody from Australia, their family can probably be tracked down to being prisoners or convicts or something.
Yeah, and it shows how much the British hated...
That's why they're crazy.
The British hated Irish people too, man. It was...
Us poor Irish folk.
But that's a good one. I can leave you on a good note. So we talked about Shutter Island.
We're
All
leaving
right,
them on a
movie.
good note no matter what because we're funny.
No, we cannot leave them with ThanksKilling.
Gobble, gobble, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's terrible. Go check out The Nightingale. That is an independent film. But pre-warning, the rape scene is pretty graphic, and then there's a dead baby. So, yeah, it's dark.
Great. We talked about 2 rapes and some lobotomies.
3 rapes. No,
Yeah.
there is no rape in Shutter Island.
There's no rape in Shutter Island.
There's rape in
ThanksKilling.
and there's rape in this film. Why did we? No, where did I get
said
3
2.
rapes from?
I don't know because of him like being, but he was like consenting to have that guy put his dick in his vent.
Oh yeah. No, that was weird, man. I was like,
That was
why would
some
you fuck
weird-
a turkey.
It's a tight little hole.
God, man.
Ew, that's where they're like everything comes out of.
There's an actual term for that. And I
It's
can't
a
remember.
vent.
No, there's a term for when
Bestiality.
no, where everything connects. So the reproductive organs and the fecal matter connect. I
don't know.
was watching some documentary on chickens the other day while you were asleep, and I was up till 2 a.m. because I drank Rockstar.
Last night
No, it was
or that other time,
the other time,
like Monday night or something.
something like that. I don't know. Because I'm always up late now. I have this very bad habit of drinking caffeine very late. So I'm like, I'm kind of tired. Don't want to go to bed. Might as well just crack a Rockstar.
And I'm over here like, can't have caffeine after 2:00 or I won't be able to sleep at 8:30 tonight.
Yeah, and right now I already know I'm screwed because I had one of those earthquakes from the Brew Monkey.
Yeah, you had coffee and I was like, I'll get a hot chocolate with whipped cream, please.
But luckily it's Friday, so we
Yeah.
still have some weekend left.
We have a whole weekend left still.
We do. It hasn't even started. It's starting today.
Yeah, right now.
Right
Because it's
now.
only 7:00.
And you look like you're ready for bed.
I know, I'm a little
Anyways,
We should run to the gas station.
what? So you can get some caffeine?
Yeah, because I have a lot of Christmas decorating to do, and I'm gonna need some energy. Which I'll give you my debit card. You have to run, and I'm in pajamas.
No, you run and get your own Rockstar
I don't drink Rockstars. They make me sick.
What
Red
do you-
Bull.
Red Bull because it gives you wings. And on that note, everybody, have fun decorating for the holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever it is you celebrate
Kwanzaa.
out there.
Have a holly jolly something.
And we will catch you on the next episode.
And when you turn on this show, turn your headphones up all the way. I'll stop singing now.
Gobble, gobble, motherfucker.